Hi guys, so welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today we're going to be watching Doctor Strange, and like usual we're going to stop by Jollibee just to have something to eat, and we're going to give you guys a spoiler review later in the video. Don't forget to give this video a like, a share, and subscribe, and please be kind in the comment section. Here you go. Hi guys, so we're gonna give you guys a spoiler review for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. That's the title, right?
Yeah.
Multiverse of. So here's the thing, I really enjoy this movie. Like, how long is the movie again? Like almost 3 hours?
I don't know without looking.
Cause that's the thing though. Like, even though
I know it was definitely 2 hours. I feel like it wasn't actually as long as you think it was. I think it was only like a little over 2 hours, but I could be wrong.
But that's the crazy thing though. It doesn't feel like 2 hours or 3 hour movie. Like, it's very action packed. Like, I got my money's worth because like we watch it in Dolby theaters, and like Dolby theaters is like expensive, like $26 something, and like sometimes I'm disappointed with some movies, but this one give me my money's worth. And like, yeah, this is the kind of movies we need these days.
Yeah, it was only 2 hours and 6 minutes.
2 hours and 6 minutes. Okay, like I thought it was longer than that, but still it's worth it. I enjoy it. Well, what about you?
So yeah, I definitely really enjoyed it. From what I'm reading, it's getting a little bit of a mixed reaction from some people, but overall, it's a very action-packed, exciting adventure that does some interesting things, and yeah, those are my general thoughts before we get into like deep into spoilers. Which it's kind of hard to talk about this movie, especially if you're sort of a big Marvel fan. It's hard to talk about this movie without just spoiling what happens in it. There's this sort of big element that's hard to talk around. But do you have any other non-spoiler thoughts before we get into spoilers?
Not really. I want to get into the spoiler review right away because it's really awesome.
Okay, so there's your spoiler warning. So yeah, Wanda is just now a full-on villain. And I think in terms of how much you enjoy this movie, it really depends on how well you're going to follow that line of thought. Because especially, I was watching and reading some opinions. I think if you were of the opinion after WandaVision that Wanda should just be a good guy and that they shouldn't just go down that path or that they're not there yet, you might have some issues with this movie, because I feel like there were people who really felt like at the end of WandaVision, okay, that they didn't really buy her sort of saying, my bad. Mm-hmm. and then getting away with it. There were people who didn't like that, so maybe they'll like this version of the character a little bit better. I think they did somewhat set that up where she was looking at the Darkhold, and the idea in this movie is that she's been corrupted by the Darkhold. They refer to a different version of Doctor Strange who's been corrupted by the Darkhold. Mm-hmm. But the one thing I did like is that they didn't play too much into that to take away the responsibility for Wanda and say, oh, well, it's just the Darkhold, and then that's almost what I was expecting to happen, was that, they would fix the corruption or whatever, and then Wanda would be okay. They didn't do that in this movie. That's not necessarily something they can't do in the future. The old comic book rules, if you don't see a body, then they're not really dead. Yeah. And with comic books, even if you see a body half the time, they can still come back. How did you feel about the way that they dealt with Wanda?
I actually enjoy it. Like, I remember, like, on my way home, and like when we watched this movie, like, it reminded me of like a lot of horror movies I've seen, especially that scene, like, she came out of like this mirror and she looked like the Grudge or something like that.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of horror elements that I remember back when they announced Scott Derrickson was supposed to direct this originally, and he said something about like bringing more horror elements. Kevin Feige was quick to say, but it's still going to be PG-13. Don't worry, we're not going too far. And so I was a little worried that any horror elements would be significantly drawn back or not, especially when they switched directors to Sam Raimi. But he's a big he comes from a big horror background, having directed the Evil Dead movies, so that's where he comes from. So he definitely leaned into that, and there are certainly some great sequences in this movie with like
horror sequences.
Yeah, and from the criticisms that I've seen is like even the people who didn't necessarily like the movie overall or have some like significant issues with it, they at least agree with like it does have great sequences and some great like moments. It's not like such like they think it's more of a mixed bag rather than just outright bad for the most part.
Especially that scene, like remember I was telling you last night, that scene where she looked like she's fighting all these Avengers from this other universe, and she looked like Carrie.
Yeah, the Illuminati.
She looked like Carrie with like the blood and everything, and like it's crazy.
Well, yeah, and then especially later on where she's like, because I think she hurt that body, that version of hers, because she's dreamwalking, and she hurt that version of hers leg or whatever, and so she's kind of like limping along. She's almost like a zombie, which I think from the trailers people thought she was going to be the zombie version of Wanda at some point, but
it went to Doctor Strange.
Yeah, and so one thing I would say about this, like that I've heard people sort of criticizing, is they wanted, I think, more multiverse, more different versions.
Yeah.
I think I'm okay with what they did with this movie. You still have several universes in play, and I think it does allow you to sort of get more from each version rather than just... I feel like as much as people wanted like varying different versions, I think it could have gone too chaotic with that. And I lost my train. And it could have gotten a little bit too chaotic. So I like that. I mean, for the most part, it really does focus on, we go from our Earth to a different version of Earth, which we kind of mainly stay in the movie for the most part, which has the Illuminati and then there's the sort of destroyed version, which Strange goes to in like, I don't know, like the start of the third act or middle of the third act. I don't know what you call it. So, I mean, you really only get like 3 locations, but then you have characters from various universes America Chavez is obviously from an Earth that we don't visit. And then you have the Defender Strange, who she was with at the beginning of the movie, whose body then pops up later.
Mm-hmm.
Which I've heard people say that they sort of saw something coming with that because it was buried. I didn't see that coming. Well, I knew obviously from the trailer about the dead Doctor Strange, the sort of zombie Doctor Strange. I just didn't necessarily think it was going to be him. Or at first when I saw him, he got blasted with that energy thing in his leg, and there was sort of that black sort of ooze or whatever. I thought that's what maybe was causing the infection, the zombie infection. But it didn't have anything to do with that.
And then I remember I was watching it last night because basically he's able to like summon like, well, the souls of like the dead or something like that, trying to like hunt him, Doctor Strange.
Yeah, well, because he's possessing a dead body, so it's basically the consequence of that he's doing something forbidden magic, and so the spirits are
and then
coming after him.
He turned them into like his cape or something like that, like the dark cape or something. Then I was joking to him because I've seen the Moon Knight series, and I was hoping like Moon Knight has this majestic cape as well, like it flows and it flies. Like I was disappointed with Moon Knight when it comes to cape, but Doctor Strange, hands down, cape. You can have the cape. He reminded me of like Spawn or something. And then it's epic. Like the fight scenes are epic from the very beginning. It's fight scenes over fight scenes.
Yeah, that's one thing I wasn't necessarily expecting it to be sort of the Avengers Endgame / Infinity War level of action, where we just jump right in, and it's sort of like it goes has a lot of action set pieces throughout the movie.
But yeah, and then I've seen like other characters in here. I don't know who that superhero is. I keep calling him like the Blue Beetle. The one who whispers.
Black Bolt.
Like what kind of power? Like I've seen his power, and like they said he's really powerful, but like Wanda just killed him like that.
Well, she used his own power against him. Because the thing that killed him, she basically just made it so he couldn't use his power, and then when he tried to use his power, he killed himself.
It exploded. That's his head exploded. And then I remember there's this version of Captain America in this universe, and a female Captain America. Which we assume is not the same version that we saw in What If. That's one thing when we get into sort of this multiverse, things are going to get very confusing because that is a Captain Carter, but I'm pretty sure it's not the same Captain Carter that we got in What If. Otherwise, she's dead. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure they want to do more stuff with her in like What If Season 2. And Scarlet Witch cut her in half. They didn't show it, but like, geez, it's violent. Like horror movie elements. It's crazy. I really enjoy it. Like, I don't even pay attention to everybody. I was just focused on the movie itself, because all the action sequence and like, oh, this is what I paid for.
Yeah. So how did you feel about the Illuminati's inclusion in the movie? Because that was definitely the part where people would call out and say, like, this is the cameo moment where they show the cameos to get those cheers. I thought it was worked in well.
It's just funny because like some people reacted like, oh, they because of all the conspiracies out there. Probably you're gonna like that part when they say
what?
The Illuminati.
Yeah,
and people reacted to it. You don't remember?
Yeah, but that they reacted to it because they know who the Illuminati in the comics are, not because of the real world Illuminati conspiracies.
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen that.
Because they know about. I mean, we already knew that going into the movie. If you watch the trailers and you know who the Illuminati are, they didn't say it in the trailers, but any Marvel comic fan knew what was going to happen.
Well, I'm not a
They didn't know
Marvel
what
fan.
version of it was. Going into the movie, I thought that it was going to be sort of like the Illuminati was going to be made up of like different people throughout the multiverse, and that this place he was being brought to was sort of something like the TVA almost. But it turns out, no, it's the Illuminati of this specific universe that they're in. Which means they could still form the Illuminati in the 616 universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember what that universe was, like 882 or something like that.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned
And we also got a first MCU canonical description of it being 616, which is a big thing for the comics. But also interestingly, from the comics are 616, the main Marvel universe, and they refer to I don't know if it's in the comics themselves or just like the other materials have referred to the MCU as a different universe in the greater Marvel multiverse, which is like Earth 199999, something like that.
Now that you mentioned the TVA and all of that, like, how do you think this is gonna tie into like the entire lore of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? How does Kang gonna come into play? How does the Celestials and the Eternals are gonna be in the picture or something?
I don't know. One thing you as a big Marvel, well, I'm not even that big Marvel fan, but I mean from like watching the MCU and also knowing some things from the comics, they specifically mention incursions. And they kind of go into detail of that, where Reed Richards talks about that. And I think that's a big hint about where they're going towards in like the next, 8 years or whatever in the 10-year plan. Similar to where they kind of work their way to Infinity War and Endgame. I think that is a huge sign that they are working their way to Secret Wars. Which not so much the original Secret Wars as in the more recent Secret Wars where they blew up the Marvel Universe. More specifically, it was a culmination of events where all the different universes have been kind of just being destroyed by these incursions. Basically, they're hitting each other and then being destroyed. And the event Secret Wars starts off with the 616 Marvel Universe coming into contact and destroying the Ultimate Universe.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully they'll deliver though. How much budget are they gonna put into it though?
I don't know. And so that's where I feel like they're going to. And that's something you could definitely tie the Celestials into, like the greater Marvel Universe. Though I don't know if they do the exact sort of thing where they like destroy everything and then they have this sort of cobbled together universe of all the different universes and whenever they want to pick and choose. And then like make a new universe from that. Because that's almost at the point where you could, similar to DC with Crisis of Infinite Earths, it's a really easy reboot point. Yeah. if like in 10 or like 8 years or whatever it is from now, they do like culminate in Secret Wars, you could easily reboot after that. Like they remake the Marvel Universe and then we start off new again with, you could have a new Captain America, new Iron Man, and just start over. But then the question is, like, are people going to be still interested?
Yeah.
Or is it going to be a little out of hand with all these different multiverse versions of people? And that's one thing I'll say with like the ending with Scarlet Witch. The one thing I hope they don't do is just bring in a Scarlet Witch from a different universe and say, okay, well, things keep going. Because that's one thing. If you look at where comics have sort of gone wrong, is they bring in different versions from different universes and things get really confusing, and then they try to do these big massive events to clarify things and make it easier. They reboot the universe and then it somehow gets even more confusing. DC Universe did that. DC has done that a couple times, and the big one was with Flashpoint. They tried to start everything over, and then now you have not just the the New 52. They tried to sort of start things over, but they didn't really reboot everything. and then now you have sort of these different things that, like, some of it's from the New 52, but then also you have people who from pre-New 52, and there's different continuities, and it's very confusing.
Yeah.
What do you hope they do with Wanda and the future movies? Do you want to see her come back?
Of course, I want to see her come back.
Well, how do you want her to come back? Because this movie, tries to make it seem like she's, takes herself out with the, the Darkhold Tower, and then that's the end of her. Obviously, we don't see a body, so how would you want them to go about that? They just have her pop up and say, "Oh, well, I'm okay now."
I'm not gonna say I'm okay now. Like, she still needs, I feel like she still needs the dark energy. How do you call that power?
Darkhold.
Yeah, that's her magic. I'm hoping she can use it for good, but.
Do you think somebody else would bring her back or something? I mean, one thing I did think about is they are making a Agatha Harkness series, so it would be interesting if somehow Agatha ended up bringing her back with magic.
We'll see.
But that is one thing, Marvel and both DC have been criticized for, is never really killing their characters too. So if they just bring Wanda back from the dead, do you think?
Well, you don't want to kill a character if it works. At the end of the day, it's all about money.
Mm-hmm. And I think the biggest thing is you have to show that there's some sort of cost to it. Otherwise, it does feel cheap just bringing the character back and okay, we're resetting her back to pre-Multiverse of Madness continuity.
Yeah, but I like the fact that they turn her into a villain as well. And it's not because she's a bad person. You can see her driving motivation in life.
Yeah, and the biggest
why she wanted to do things.
The biggest reason I think you to bring her back in some shape or form is we still have White Vision out there somewhere.
Yeah.
So you got to imagine he's gonna pop up somewhere, but then it'd be weird not to have some sort of resolution with that in Wanda.
Mm-hmm.
And since she is such a magic-based character, it just seems like there's got to be some way to bring her back, even if it's just bringing her back from hell or something like that.
Mm-hmm. How do you think? Well, who do you think is gonna be the next villain for the Avengers? Kang?
Well, he would certainly make sense, but I mean, we're not even at the point where we know that there's a Avengers movie.
Well,
that they're going to make.
There should be an Avengers movie. Well, we haven't seen Kang in action, but I've seen Kang, the animated version of him, and this guy. No wonder why they call him Kang the Invader, because he invades. He's like Thanos, basically.
Yeah.
Stronger than Thanos.
I mean, I know it does seem like they're going to eventually build up to some sort of Avengers level event, even if they don't call it Avengers.
Yeah.
It'll be Secret Wars.
Because I also want to see the Eternals, Shang-Chi. Hopefully they redeem Moon Knight as well. So I want to see Moon Knights as well, and the Egyptian god pantheon.
Mm-hmm.
And all the gods fighting this bigger.
Because especially with the way they're going with different things, that seems like the only way they could really tie everything together is in a big, huge event like Secret Wars. Because obviously, with the universes getting destroyed, that involves everyone.
Mm-hmm.
That's a storyline that easily involves everyone. But the question is how well they can pull that off.
Mm-hmm. I wonder what Tom Holland is doing in this universe though. Well, the Spider-Man character.
Yeah. And the one thing I would say, if they do end up going that route, I really hope that they spend a little bit more time on the conflict between our world and if there is one last universe out there before everything gets destroyed, because that's one thing that just gets skipped right over. You have the 616 versus the Ultimate Marvel Universe for 2 seconds, and then everything's destroyed in the comic book. And it goes from there. That's one thing I think that probably they would spend a lot more time in the MCU, which could be interesting.
So what do you guys think? Did you guys enjoy Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness? I did. What about you? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I enjoyed it more than some critics, but I see their sort of criticisms, but at the same time, I really enjoyed it.
Well, yeah, we recommend it to you guys. Well, I definitely recommend it to you guys because you're gonna get your money's worth with this movie. Like, especially we watch it in Dolby Theater. Like, it's $26, and like for some people, it's not even like an hour paycheck. So yeah, if you're gonna spend like your hard-earned money on this movie, like it's well worth it. They deliver with everything. So I encourage you guys to like watch Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Hope you enjoy this video. Don't forget to give it a like, a share, and subscribe. And please be kind in the comment section. And I'll see you guys in my future videos. Bye!